Ooh, the horror. Another Stefan Molyneux video. Alright, well this ought to be about forever in length. Yeah, something like that. Took notes when I watched this the other day, but I don't know if there's much point. So in overview, look, he doesn't really believe any of this anarchy crap he talks is ever going to happen, or this free market capitalism crap. He knows it's never going to happen, so he talks this shit just because it's anti-government. And anti-government usually means, you know, attack the social elements of government get attacked first, and so he just assumes that all the anti-government people will attack the welfare sluts because they're causing all the trouble. You know. And you know, again, in his system, you know, he talks with such hypocrisy. One minute he concedes that, oh yeah, well it's the reason why government sucks is because basically people suck. So he concedes the point that people are selfish and greedy and they cut corners and cheat people and will fuck people over. And yet he believes in his utopia where there is no public education, where the poor are left where they were 300 years ago, which is on the street. That somehow all those little, you know, widow orphs are somehow going to grow up with character. It's just, and everybody's going to love each other and be nice to each other, and nobody's going to offend each other, really piss each other off. They're not going to step close enough to somebody's perception of their rights to earn retaliation. And he's all for retaliation. And he's all for, it's coming right for us, shoot it. You know, he's all for the South Park joke. He's all for, yeah, it's a black guy, shoot it. You know, that's all this shit is. And his DROs would just end up being mobs. So it would just bring back the mafia in the biggest way, right? And absolutely nothing to stop it. So the mafia has no government meddling with it. What do you think the mafia would do, right? I mean, it'd be whack, 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 all over the place. Everybody'd be sabotaging each other's water. They'd be doing all kinds of dirty tricks to put another guy out of business. If somebody's ruining your business, you're not going to sit there and play fair. You're going to burn his building down. Some asshole, well, you can go down the list, all this stuff. This is inane, silly nonsense. And it becomes obvious, you know, in his next video. I'll try to get both of them in here, but, you know, it's an awful lot. But this really, I mean, his answers are so trite and silly as responses to these hard questions, and he just fluffs them off, and you know, with simplistic drivel that would mean, it means absolutely nothing as policy. So again, these are real arguments to have, right? I mean, fundamentally, we would agree. Corruption in the banking industry is bad. Let's fix it, okay? The military-industrial complex is bad. Let's fix it, okay? He wouldn't want to fix wealth disparity because somehow he thinks there's entitlement in birthright. So we fundamentally disagree on that one. You know, I would argue that there might be some argument to be made about somebody's right to be rich, but not their right to make it in perpetuity, to create a dynasty. That I don't believe. That cheat just breaks the invisible hand altogether. And for him not to be able to admit that is bogus, incredibly bogus. That, you know, you can't be talking about no fair game in those circumstances. But well, so let's go down. He has on this video he has them time coded, but we'll see if we even bother. We might just skip, but we'll see how it goes. So we'll go to the first time code, right? Why not?
Try to get to them. So, Thomas asks a question, how would a free society prevent slavery? So a free society, for those not in the know, is a society without a government, where there is spontaneous self-organization, a voluntarist society. You could call it an anarcho-capitalist society, but it's a society without a government. So how would a free society prevent slavery? Well, slavery is a manifestation of the state.
Okay, so this is the silliest part, right? Slavery is a manifestation of the state. And he does this in the following video. He calls Abraham Lincoln a fascist. So he argues that you don't have a right to impose force, and yet he's defending the South's right to forcibly keep slaves, to violently extort them into their servitude. And he's defending it. He's defending it as if they can't be touched by another group of individuals who find that force obnoxious. And so here's his hypocrisy showing already. And he's making this ludicrous, well, I'll let him make the argument, but it's a silly argument.
And it's like saying, how would a free society prevent the DMV or the Department of Education? Well, it would not be part of that society.
Well, just even imagine that, though, right? The DMV. So in his society, you'd have no division of motor vehicles. You'd have no obligations regarding the safety of the vehicle you were driving on the highway. So every time you went on the road, you'd be, if you ever put your kid in the car, somebody should smack you upside the head, because you're putting your kid at huge risk. Because you're letting any fuckwit drive any kind of fuckwitted vehicle without any licensing, anything. Right? Does that make any sense to you? It doesn't make any sense to me. Who wants to drive on a road where I can't be guaranteed some minimum of safety? Why would I I'll find another way to get there. Going by road would probably be the last way to go if you want to live.
Slavery.
I mean, he would let the drunks on the road. He'd let them all. Do whatever the fuck you want. Driver beware. That's his attitude. Somehow that's more civilized. That's the better world. The better world is to give people the liberty to recklessly run you the fuck over. Recklessly. I mean, just without any kind of, just total disregard is win.
It is extremely expensive.
I imagine the speeders alone. Imagine the speed nuts flying down the road at 2 in the morning at 120 miles an hour.
And extremely inefficient.
So he's saying now that slavery is inefficient, which is just a huge lie, right? I mean, all you're doing is paying people the minimum of their bare upkeep, giving them barely enough food, barely enough shelter, barely enough decency to live on. And you're extorting them with brutal extortion to be very productive or else. If you're not productive, you're going to get hurt. Period. And he's saying that's not productive. People wouldn't do it if they could. I mean, it's a preposterously silly response.
You pay a person. That person is good, wants to do a good job, wants to advance, will bring their ideas to the job, and so on.
Yeah, right. Cotton picking. I want to advance as a cotton picker. There's such advancement. It's just written all over the job. There's all kinds of advancement. I'm going to grow a third arm and pick even faster. I'm going to advance into what? It's just anyway. I'll move on. I'll try to move this along.
It becomes unviable. How would a free society prevent itself from falling back into tyranny? I believe.
Yeah. So let's remember too the context here. Let's not forget the context. All the tyrants and monarchies of old were all created by a free market. The free market creates dynasty, it creates power, creates consolidation, creates kings. That's what it created. That's what the free market led to. Consolidation of wealth and nation status, in the sense that you owned everything and you rented it all to the serfs. That's where the free market went the first time we tried it.
I may have had this question once or twice before. To me, this is sort of like saying, how does the happiest married woman in the world prevent herself from filing for divorce?
So that's how it responds to the consolidation of wealth argument. That's somehow a response. Oh, I don't think it is.
The question doesn't really make much sense.
Yeah, it does. Because your free markets will create people so preposterously wealthy, they will buy everyone out of their life and rent them a life. It's a fact.
So a free society comes about when...
I mean, can you draw a computer model? Can't one of you guys do like a Sims thing or something? Make a Monopoly board game of free market and show me exactly how consolidation isn't the ending game? How something other than consolidation of wealth is what happens? Show me exactly what in your system, where the rich guy falls into the bear trap.
And we treat our children peacefully, and those children grow up with
no money, and you throw them on the street. There's no welfare, no public education, no free lunches at all, nothing for kids at all, no protections for children whatsoever. We go back to some voluntary charity day, which basically is back to the Dickens-esque reality that existed when people depended on voluntarism. It wasn't nearly enough. And what happens? The poor get sick because they're living in the slums, they're living in filth, and then you rich people do what? You burn them out of their houses when they catch a disease. I mean, that's another thing. In one of the videos he brings up, he talks about polio and smallpox. Those two things would never have been eradicated in his world. In his world, there's no way to eradicate a disease. So those diseases be alive and well in his anarchy. Yeah, in his non-federal world. The federal government eradicated those diseases. Not states, not municipalities, not localities. The only reason why those diseases aren't a threat to us anymore is because of federal investment in their destruction and annihilation.
By the time they're 18, with like 15 or 16 years of peaceful negotiation, they've never been hit, they've never been yelled at, they therefore are not going to be...
Again, what good would a vaccine be if you can't force people to take it? You can't understand that?
Become criminals or sociopaths or drink the blood of bunnies or anything like that. They're going...
Right, so again, his argument is, I will give them nothing, okay? I will give reckless reproducers nothing. I will not take care of their children. And somehow I believe their children will come out wonderfully. And the other extreme is you're going to have these elitists living on top of the hills, looking down at that world, and they're going to be growing up looking down at that world, and they're not going to be fucked up at all with their security guards with them all the time. Yeah, sure are. We've seen how mentally and psychologically healthy the spawn of the rich have been. I mean, they've been absolutely crazy, actually. They've actually been cannibals. They've been all kinds of whack jobs. And they had every advantage.
To be nice, convivial, productive, happy people. This is very well established.
No, it's not very well established. That the problem is the rich don't do enough work, and the problem is the poor do too much. So that's the problem. The extremes are too extreme. Okay, the privilege has they lose character because they don't have to do anything for it, and the poor lose character because they lose all hope that fairness will ever exist. So those two psychological mechanisms will create lots and lots of people willing to whack your motherfucking head right the fuck off. Yeah, I mean, I really do. I mean, just entertain myself. I really do like to imagine, oh yeah, he wins and he gets his anarchy, and I just imagine the 9 million ways you get fucking whacked in the first 3 days of anarchy. You know, I could say, oh, I could make it even worse, you know, you do have a wife and child.
Scientifically, that raising happy kids...
I imagine you have a wife. I don't know, you never mentioned her. You have a baby bun maker of some kind.
Is a righteous the righteous practice of following the non-aggression principle.
Right, the non-aggression principle, but stand your ground. Non-aggression, but stand your ground. So it's okay. It's okay to stalk people, let them turn around and say, "What you up to, Whitey?" and then shoot them in the fucking head. That's okay. All right? Yeah, that's non-aggression. Hey, self-defense. 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 I mean, this is just this is laughable.
Tyranny in a future society. How would a free society prevent a major property developer from ruining my view of the ocean? I don't see how you own the view of the ocean.
Well, let's say you're sensible, you know, and you obviously it's who would even own this stuff in the first place, right? How did people acquire their ownership, and how do they declare their ownership? Do they have some sort of like what, a sign or something? I mean, and where do you go to negotiate with these people? And if they won't negotiate, isn't that almost a kind of force? But you know, like yeah, let's just say you sensibly don't build right on the ocean. Or let's say something happens where the land changes a little bit. Now there's some sort of new thing opens up or whatever. And some guy does. You've spent your whole life building yourself a wonderful property, and now some asshole blocks the sun. You know, your property value has now been diminished to 10% of what it was. You lived in paradise and now you live in shit. And you're telling me that guy's just going to sit back and take it and say, well, that's just fine. Thank you very much. I will move on. No. He's going to burn that building down. No cops? Come on, he's burning it down.
You know, I don't see how you own that. A line of sight is not something you can own unless you buy the land between you and the ocean, right? So
that's his solution to all problems is everybody will have whatever 50 acres surrounding them, you know. So it won't matter about roads anyway, because your driveway is going to be so long and so expensive to maintain that there won't be any point in having a road. There won't be any point in having a vehicle. You know, we can all sit around and eat carrots in our fucking shacks. I mean, it's just so fucking impractical. Yeah, I'm sure the phone company and phone you don't have to do with the same thing. Well, even the cell towers though. But I'm sure the cable company or the electric company isn't going to charge me hardly anything at all to run the electrical wire, you know, 1.5 miles to my house from the edge of my private property. Oh no, they won't charge me hardly nothing at all for that.
Well, if you're a half mile back from the ocean and you buy the land between you and the ocean, then no one can build there. And bingo, bango, bongo, you've got your view protected. But if you don't own that land, then you save yourself a lot of money. You don't have to buy the land. But at that same point, you risk somebody building a big tower.
Right, and so what if they build a pig farm? Or what if they pollute my water? Or what if they make a stink? So again, all this bullshit. Oh yeah, I go send my mob to go tell them, you know, I send Lefty over there to give... I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse, fuckhead. And then they'll bring their mob guy and say, oh yeah, I got a double offer for you. And you'll just double offer each other, right? Oh, fuck, this is just so stupid.
To block your view of the ocean. Sorry, it's a risk. It's a risk you take.
Yeah, so that's his glib response, right? So you spent your whole life planting apple trees and peach trees and pear trees, and you spent a huge amount of money manicuring your lawn. You put in a little koi pond, and you got it all the way you want. Everything's just fountain and little garden thingy and blah blah blah, all this good stuff. And you're just gonna say, "Oh, too bad, I lose." Yeah, fuck you. Yeah, I don't think so. Why don't you put that on the board game? Okay, here we go.
A free society prevents something like pre-unification Germany from occurring, i.e. a series of privately owned pieces of land preventing trade and prosperity by charging tariffs. It is not just a statist practice. So, okay, so let me see if I...
yeah, so basically the question is, what do you do about the Mississippi River having a toll booth every 15 feet? Yeah.
Understand this.
Do.
So Bob builds the mall and then charges a tariff to enter the mall?
No. He buys a hunk of the Mississippi River and charges a big giant tax to cross this piece of the river.
That's not going to happen.
Sure it is. Because he's not selling Fruit Loops. He's not having a mall. So again, see how he manipulated the circumstance by saying it's somehow in Bob's interest because he needs to sell Apple Jacks to these people? No. You buy the land, you put a big fence across it, and you say, see the little gate there? you got to pay me $10 to go through the gate. And it's the narrowest, shortest distance to get across, and you just extort the hell out of people. Because they're going to have to go the long way around. They're going to have to go 30 miles all the way over the mountain and cost them more money, and it's a crappy rickety road. And I'm just going to take advantage. I'm just going to take motherfucking advantage, like some rich cunt who inherits the money. Yeah, I'm just going to say I own it, I got it, fuck you, ha ha. And I'm going to get rich, rich, rich. Because you don't have a damn choice. Choice.
Why would Bob charge people to come into the mall? You don't get charged to go to a mall. And if Bob goes to his investors and say, well, I'm going to charge people $50 to come to my mall, they're going to say, well, why would they pay $50 to come to your mall?
Exactly. He doesn't have a mall. It's the only way you can get from this to where New York City. I got the bridge. I got the thing. I got the narrow gap. I got the deal. And I'm just going to extort the hell out of you. Yeah, because I'm a greedy fucking capitalist pig. That's the world you're going to live in.
The other mall in the known universe is free. If they're not going to give him any money, these things simply won't occur.
Right, so to get from, there's lots of examples, right? I mean, you could see to get to some common land or to get like a canal, like a bay, right? I own the opening to the bay, and I dredge it and keep it deep enough for ships to get in and out of. They're not going to pay me. Of course they're going to pay me. And they're going to pay me whatever the fuck I say they're going to pay me.
To do a major capital project like building a mall, you need to get investors. And investors ask, and trust me, I've both been on the receiving...
Well, again, see, he just totally perverted this. Okay, the German example wasn't about buying malls and shit. It was just about people acquiring property, acquiring ownership of resources, and then just fucking everybody else over for those resources.
And the delivery end of these kinds of questions, they ask 6 million questions about what could go wrong. And if you propose in a free society buying a bunch of land and then charging...
Yeah, well, why don't I just buy a volcano, right? And I'll put a big giant bomb on top of it. And then I'll just tell you fuckers, pay me or I'm going to blow the volcano open. Right? In your world, that would be perfectly legal. Right? I'm just taking advantage of a business opportunity. Yeah, fire insurance. Oh, anyway, let's move on. Let's see. How would you feel about society prevent? Okay, what are your thoughts? Swear word? Who cares about swear words? Goddamn idiotic bullshit.
Warren writes the Haipong, I think I pronounced that right, Haipong plant that creates the amazing sriracha sauce in Los Angeles has come under the scrutiny of late for odd and potentially harmful or hazardous odors affecting the surrounding neighborhoods. I need to find a clean, clear, and crisp way of outlining to those I may debate with how this issue is resolved in a stateless society or libertarian society.
Right. How is it resolved if I'm upstream and I shit in the stream and all the people downstream have shit in their water? How's it resolved?
Yeah, I mean, when I was doing my master's, I lived in a house actually with 4 gay guys and a lesbian.
I think there were 5 gay guys actually. Or 2 lesbians.
Fantastic. Pristine and beautiful. I had actually a girlfriend of mine came over and said to her boyfriend...
That's one of your lies, right? People with penises, you're not allowed to call them girlfriends.
When she saw this absolutely gorgeous kitchen, she said, you know what, just be gay. I would give up sex for a kitchen like this. Not actually a bad way of looking at it, but...
Yeah, well, it's not too good for your self-esteem, though, all right? Yeah, I mean, she's basically rolling you over for a kitchen. You're so impressed, right, that she's rolling you over for a clean kitchen.
Behind the place I lived in Toronto was an abattoir, and yes, it stunk. And I saved money. I spent $270 for a room in the house, and...
Right, and so in your system, some guy builds a house, has a nice deal going for himself, some shithead shows up next door, makes a huge stink, cuts his property values in 1/4. So you save money, yeah, because the guy's ruined. And you're saying the ruined guy, the guy whose now life has been ruined, is just going to say, oh, too bad. I guess I'll just have to move on. You know, lose 90% of my wealth because some asshole wants to be a rude motherfucker. Yeah, I don't think so.
It was cheaper because sometimes it smelled. So, if you want to keep the smell good, it's easy enough. You simply buy stink insurance. Stinksurance.
Yeah, that can't cost much at all, right? So his plan is, right, get this is the funny part, right? You just pay $20 a year for your stink insurance, and the company takes all the money from all these people. Apparently you live in some huge community, even though you know that wouldn't happen because everybody would have extra acres protecting them, so you wouldn't be living in any community. But anyway, let's just pretend for the sake of it. And he pretends that with your $20 contributions, the stink company's going to buy all the land around you so nobody can build a stink factory. He thinks that's going to happen.
What happens is you pay $50 or $20 or whatever it's going to be a month.
There you go.
To a company, and that company guarantees that your air is going to...
Right, okay. So I gotta pay $20 a month for stink insurance, and then $20 a month for fouled water insurance, then $20 a month for fouled air insurance. So where does this what about sound? Okay, sound insurance. So yeah, I'm up to $100 a month, and the lie is that no, it's going to be like $1,000 a month, because there's no way you're going to have enough people contributing, because it's voluntary, right? So everybody's going to be saying, I'll let the other guy do it so I can just live off the benefits, right? Everybody's just going to play the game. It's voluntary.
Smell good, or at least not smell bad. And so...
I mean, just imagine, how's this insurance company going to work, right? I'll guarantee you stink proof. You give me $20. But the catch is, if everybody in the town doesn't pay me, you don't get anything for your money. And I'm still going to have to charge you because, yeah, I mean, I have to go all this work or go knocking door to door asking for the money, and they don't give me the money. And so you have to pay me not to get paid by the rest of the people in your neighborhood. So, yeah, you'll be out your money and you'll get no insurance. That's just the way it is, sorry.
A bunch of people pay into this thing, and then...
A bunch of fictitious people that live miles away. Oh, hilarious.
This company has...
voluntarily pay.
You know, millions of dollars a month in income that depends upon them keeping the air clean.
Millions of dollars a month in income from $20 a month. Millions from $20. Millions. Yeah. Oh, you play fair.
So they're going to make sure nobody builds around. They're going to buy up land if necessary to make sure people don't build, and so on. And the free rider concept is going to be...
Right. And it wouldn't be cheaper just to pay some immigrant $100 to go whack the guy making the stink. It wouldn't be cheaper just to do that. I mean, I'm not guilty, right? I mean, I didn't do any force. Yeah. It's just so stupid. I mean, it would be fun to live in that world just because, you know, I don't have any kids or anything. So I could be as just badass as I want to be because I got nothing to lose and everything joyful to gain, you know. Just hilarious. So anyway, next.
Nate asks, if a philosopher offers you a theory with a claim that do X and you will achieve your best chance at Y, if you implement such a theory and don't move towards Y or move towards the opposite of Y, does this invalidate the theory? Are you able to rightfully call a theory wrong, despite the reason and evidence behind it? Well, if there's evidence behind it, but you don't...
I think this would just be jibber-jabber, but it does remind me of one of his cliche arguments. You know, he's always arguing that, you know, our capitalism isn't real capitalism. And yet he always argues that under Stalin, that was real socialism. You know, it's just such a cheat, right? I mean, he doesn't want to say, this isn't free market capitalism. The failure of the banks and the failure of the stock market and the failure of all this greed and whatever. This isn't real free market capitalism. But Stalin was real socialism. I mean, what a lie, right? Yeah, right. So let's move on. This is kind of a dumb question. It's obviously idiotic. We know what happened. The first try at free markets got us monarchy. That was the byproduct. Durr.
Separate things you had said when placed together. You said you do not affiliate with status, especially not beyond a certain point of discussion. But you had also said at another time that one should do everything to maintain a positive relationship with one's own parents, if you decide to have kids of your own. Suppose one's own parents happen to be unrepentant status. Suppose one wished to move to a different country, like Doug Casey or Jeff Berwick. What takes priority? Okay, so for those who don't understand, I don't affiliate with status because status want me thrown in jail and possibly raped for peaceful disagreements with them. It's called the against me.
Yeah, right. And you want to stand your ground and kill all the darkies. Yeah, isn't that your plan? I'm supposed to feel safer in the Googleocracy, right? Where Google decides, or my electric company decides whether I'm a good person or not, and they just cut me. If they don't like my character, they just cut me off. Say no electricity for you, and sorry, yes, we are the only electrical company because yeah, this does take a lot of infrastructure and it's expensive. So yeah, we won the competition, we own the game, and we don't like you, so we're not going to give you electricity because you said this curse word or you offended us in some way. He'd rather live in that forced society. He'd rather have corporations telling us what to do than a democracy. So let him just understand here. He doesn't like democracy. He likes corpocracy. He wants corporations to tell him what to do. He doesn't want other people in a citizenry who vote to tell him what to do. So his contempt goes that deep. Right? I mean, I don't like people, but obviously he likes people even less than I do. And he likes corporations obviously more than he likes the average human being. Think about that, fuckers.
The argument. So, I don't use drugs and I never have, but, well, decaf accepted. But I believe that people have the right to use drugs, of course. I mean, it's a peaceful activity and, obviously makes some people enormously creative and stuff.
Right, and obviously makes some people enormously destructive, especially when they're driving a truck down the get yourself killed way that you think somebody's actually going to pay to drive on. I don't think so. Anyway, moving on. I'm concerned about the... Yes.
I'm in my senior year. It's only a few days to go. He says, I come to even know that another economic collapse could happen. Financially dependent on my parents. Advice in a similar situation. Okay, so if there is going to be an economic dislocation, and there will be mathematically...
This is the boring part. Yeah, he just gives them kind of silly advice, like go to college and get a good degree instead of a silly degree. Duh. Yeah, I mean, you give them that advice, whether the economy crashes or not, guess what? An art history degree is worth shit. So yeah, don't go to college if you're going to go for something stupid. Okay, get a degree where you can actually do something useful. Oh, fuck. No offense to the artist types. I just mean as a practical matter, if you're worried about paying for your existence, I guess you better be thinking about getting a paying job, not a volunteer job or a look at me, I'm silly job. Anyway. What could be done for some... Oh, torturing animals. This one's hilarious.
The thing I can think of is forming some sort of non-violent protest to try and persuade the guy to stop. But I don't know how effective that would really be. Well, the protection of animals, which I think is a very important job in the world, the protection of animals requires the protection of children. The way that we...
Oh, wow. So is this going to be anywhere close to the right answer? No. So he says in his anarchy, where he doesn't give welfare, he doesn't take care of kids, they grow up on the street, that they're not going to enjoy watching dog fights, like in Afghanistan. That's not going to be one of their favorite pastimes, is watching dog fights.
protect animals in the world is we treat children with great empathy, and then those children will treat...
Right. And your empathy for children is to blame them because their mother is a skanky whore. So if their mother is a skanky slut whore, okay, with no money, you will blame the children, treat them like shit, let them grow up in shit, and then say they're going to be wonderful people, and they're going to love animals, and they're going to love me, and they're not going to, just whack me for the fun of it. And it would be fun, I have to admit, it would be fun.
Animals with great empathy. Right, it flows downhill. Expecting children to treat animals kindly without treating children kindly is like expecting to drop them off in...
Again, you don't want to treat children kindly. You have no fucking explanation of your kindness. No example in human history of your kindness. Your voluntary kindness. All there is examples of nepotism, which you are again idolizing once again by accepting nepotism and birthright as somehow a definition of right. That's what you're saying. It's in the blood. If your mother won the lottery, you have great blood.
Beijing and expect them to suddenly speak Mandarin without ever having been exposed to it. So the way that we protect animals in society is we protect children.
Right. And so nobody will want to keep slaves. Nobody will abuse anything. Everything will be... So, see, isn't this just totally deceptive? Because in other statements, he's going to admit that human beings by nature are selfish cunts. And yet here he's saying, no, we're going to defy their nature by growing them up in anarchy, where we give them no safety net, no protections against harm. We leave them vulnerable to every kind of molester and taker. And yet they're not going to end up getting molested and taken. I mean, it's just an obscenely idiotic premise.
A lot of people want to go and protect the animals or protect the environment and so on without first focusing on, let's not spank, let's not circumcise.
Right. So again, this just doesn't deal with the issue. This is an aggression, an act of violence against sentient beings, and he's basically saying, unless it's your kid, unless it's your property that's been violated, you have no right. You are initiating force if you force them not to do that. And that's the bullshit here. He can define what I should be willing to protect, what I'm going to claim as I have an ownership right in, I have an investment in. I have an investment in the welfare of all children. I have an investment in the welfare of black people. I have an investment in the welfare of animals. I have an investment in the welfare of the disabled. I have an investment in their welfare. All right? And I'm going to fuck with you if you're going to fuck with them.
Let's not hit, let's stay home with our kids, let's breastfeed for at least 6 months, all the things that are well known and well proved.
Right, your kids, your property, your stuff, your selfish motherfucking randy and crazy bastard.
To create bottomless wells of empathy in children. Once we get those things done, we won't have...
Bottomless wells of empathy. I mean, this is just such a joke. And you're raising your kid to be a selfish little cunt. Amazing.
Have to worry really about the environment or animals. People will take care of the environment and people will take care of the animals.
Right. There's absolutely no evidence of that in history. I want some money. I'm poor. I got to get some money. So I'm going to go fish some lobsters. There's only 2 lobsters left on Earth. Yeah, I'm going to go catch them and sell them and make money. Yeah, bullshit. We've seen what people do to the commons. They rape it. Alright? Unless a force stops them, they rape the commons.
So, in a free society, you're going to have a free society when the majority of people are raised with great empathy and have great care and concern for animals. So if some idiot is out there torturing animals, maybe he's got a brain tumor, maybe he got hit by lightning, maybe he got some brain injury, and he's lost his empathy centers or something, well, this is going to be disagreeable to people.
Oh, like what? Like all the people who eat meat right now, who fucking incarcerate, torture, and then kill animals for a fucking meal. I mean, jeez, could you be full of more shit? And again, the commons are such a great example of where anarchy will just fail preposterously. because there'll be nothing to stop every tuna fish from getting caught, every whale from being harpooned, everything that can be exploited to its worst level. If they can have a gold mine and spew out as many heavy metals, arsenic, all kinds of crap, and walk away, that's going to be the game. And you say nothing about how you fix any of that with your silly DRO bullshit.
So either people know about it or they don't. Now, if they know about it, they will report him to their local DRO or whatever is...
Yeah, their local mob. Just call it what it is. Their mob. And everybody's going to have their own mob. There's going to be a black mob and an Italian mob. And everybody's going to have their own fucking mob, their own gangsters. And that's the world you're going to live in, is gangster fucking city. I mean, you're going to be buying fire insurance all over the goddamn place. Your meteor insurance... hit by a fucking car insurance, every kind of insurance there is, you're going to end up having to buy some of it from somebody.
Managing disputes, they will refuse to participate with him. They will tell him, look, if you want to be part of this neighborhood, he can go live with...
Part of this neighborhood again, like there's going to be neighborhoods. No, there'll be clans. If you want to be part of this clan... Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I don't think I want to be part of your fucking clan. No, thank you very much.
He lives, right? That's his house, assuming he owns it. But people aren't going to want to sell him food. They're not going to want to deliver electricity to his house, Yeah,
and then he's not going to want to do this and whatnot. Well, he's not going to want to fucking shit in the outhouse. He'll just shit in their water instead. That's right. So everybody will tit for tat until you are so fucked. All right, you won't have any kind of life at all. There'll be somebody behind every fucking rock ready to throw some dog dew in your face.
To participate economically in a modern society, people have to kind of like to do business with you. And the vast majority of people in a free society will find the torturing of animals morally repugnant, reprehensible, and horrible as...
Well, they don't right now, you crazy fuck. Yeah, well, whatever.
Do I? And there's so many ways to do it peacefully. You simply stop participating with someone until they get help.
Oh, right. And this is good. Does anybody buy this argument? That, oh, well, we'll all turn our back on him at church. Yeah, we'll all turn our back on him. He'll straighten up. Yeah. They'll straighten up. The people in the other town will straighten up. No, I don't think so.
And... if you don't participate with people in a neighborhood, and economically or socially, it's almost impossible for them to survive.
Right, and exactly the opposite. Imagine also, what if the electric company liked dog fighting and bullfighting and cockfighting? What if the owners of the electric company were big fans of that, and I went on the street protesting, ain't it horrible, ain't it horrible? And they decided not to give me electricity unless I stop protesting. Is that the world you want to live in? Asshole. You really are an asshole.
And so that's, I would imagine, how it would be done.
Yes, that's some imagining you did. You really worked hard on these answers, didn't you? Fuck. Yeah, really bad. Okay. Yeah, that was the last question. People keep posting their Bitcoin addresses, and it's like that chain thingy or whatever the fuck it is. This has been offline for like 3 days. Let me see if it's back up or not. Yeah, there it is. So this is like how the world works or something. These are his Bitcoins. Oh, he has 1.4 Bitcoins, I guess. I don't know how to read this shit. 21 transactions. I don't know what that means either. His final balance is 0.06 of a Bitcoin. I don't know. So he doesn't own much anymore, right? 0.0001. So he's done a lot of big purchases. 0.0s, 0.0. So he's a real Bitcoin entrepreneur, boy. Ooh, it looks like he's been losing lately. Ooh, red. So I don't know what it's up to now. 0.4. I mean, obviously, it's the whole thing is such a fraud because it's as soon as the millionaire guys bail out, Bitcoin's going to go down to shit, absolute shit. but whatever. Anyway, it's quite hilarious. So anyway, we'll just do the summing up here. Let him finish his little drivel.
In a free society, of course, the government doesn't do anything to help animals. I mean...
Well, you know, see, then is that really reasonable? The only thing that's done is by our society about helping animals. So, I mean, legislation about saving the whales, and certainly there's a ton of rules about keeping exotic animals, and, you know, and lots of rules about how you slaughter animals. None of those rules would be in place in your fuckheaded world.
Wars, regularly they bomb the living crap out of animals. There's all kinds of testing for the most shallow and stupid shit in the world.
Oh, and like that wouldn't happen in anarchy. There wouldn't be aggressive efforts to torture animals. Well, there probably would be less, only because there would be no such thing as medicine. You know, you would have no wonder drugs. You'd have no anything, because no one's going to invest years and years and years of research when they can't own the formula, when they can't have any. When you can't own intellectual property, nobody's going to invent anything that takes years of work to invent. So all of that stuff, forget about. No more medical advances. That's over.
Makeup on animals, and it's just wretched. I mean,
well, you can just imagine how much crap will get tortured when there's no standards, when they can do whatever the fuck they want. And we know that there are standards. All these places have to obey certain rules about how much torture they can impose on animals. So just keep lying. The only thing that's stopping the torture from happening even worse and more aggressively is the government intervention. That's it.
The kind of factory farming that goes on is largely...
I mean, it wasn't the government that was torturing animals. It was individuals doing it for profit. We know that, right? So we know that in anarchy, they're going to torture animals even more aggressively because there's money to be made doing it.
Driven by agricultural subsidies, which small farmers and more humane farmers can't compete with.
Well, that's just nonsense again, too. These subsidies don't have anything to do with how well they treat animals, and certainly small farmers are not fucking treating animals better. I mean, fuck you, I've been on small farms. There's neglect all over the fucking place.
Subsidization that goes on in the meat industry makes meat that much cheaper relative to things like vegetables. You know, it takes, 7 pounds of corn to make 1 pound of meat, so why isn't meat 7 times more expensive and so on than corn? Well, this is because the government distorts all these things. The true cost of meat should be borne by the consumer. That would vastly drive down the costs of...
Yeah, I agree, but, you know, the bottom line is that it is... the subsidies still don't make the difference. So, I mean, the difference wouldn't be that substantial. It's just the fact that obviously you can, you know, the fact is that biology, you know, the Matrix was wrong to say humans would make a good battery, but the truth is that you can feed it low-grade refuse. You can feed animals absolute garbage, essentially, and so then your meat is pretty profitable.
The consumption of meat and so on. So this is a very brief thing. You treat children better, and everything in the world gets better. And any time you try and step over the problem...
Yeah, well, that's just all nice and charming. But again, where is your evidence that you have any initiative or plan to treat children better? You basically have said quite obviously that if they're poor, too fucking bad, they'll have to depend on the same system they had to depend on 300 years ago, which is huddle yourself, you know, in the corner somewhere. Be a huddled mass. Raise your children in a huddled mass. In the cold, with no shoes.
Treating children better, and try and deal with the problem without including treating kids better. You're really just wasting your time. I mean, you may be...
Right, so again, so you're wasting my time, okay? Because you're not going to treat children better under anarchy. You're not going to do anything to stop reckless reproduction. It's happening all over the free third world. There's lots of freedom in the third world to be an asshole. And what are the free assholes doing? Oh, they're being assholes with that freedom. God, you're dumb.
Posturing morally for yourself but you're just necking with the mirror and thinking you're on a hot date. So this is Stefan Molyneux from Freedom.
So